Good morning, I'm Father X. In this episode, I'm going to help you build a defensive fortress to protect yourself and your kids from family court. You might be thinking, a defensive fortress? Seriously? Yes, seriously. During my 3 years in family court, I saw a clear pattern that many fathers also experience, and you probably will too. I ran the gauntlet of the family court ecosystem, including police officers, prosecutors, judges, child protective services, and child support magistrates. At every step, whenever a new person got involved, they automatically sided with the mother without even learning the real facts. Their first instinct was always to protect the mother and do what she wanted, while ignoring the child's best interests and the father's equal rights. That's their biased organizational culture. It felt like a 6 versus 1 battle. Once you see this pattern, you'll understand why you must defend yourself at every step. You need a fortress because they'll come at you one by one. I ultimately defeated them all to save my son, and now I'm here to teach you with real-life examples. In the last episode, 13A, we talked about protecting yourself against the mother. In this episode, we'll talk about your defensive fortress against your judge and the mother's lawyer. And in the next episode, we'll talk about police officers, child support, and child protective services. Let's start by talking about burden of proof. Most people understand the basics around the burden of proof. In a criminal case, the jury must be sure of guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. In a civil case, the decision must be based on a preponderance of the evidence, meaning something is at least 51% likely to be true. In family court, you're in a civil case, so a judge must base findings on that 51% standard. Many family lawyers say you need to prove your case by the preponderance of the evidence. But in reality, it's vague and cryptic. A judge can claim anything is 51% true. A judge can easily rule against the father while pretending they met the standard. Given that mothers get custody 80 to 90% of the time, it's clear that judges often apply this standard with bias. So you don't want to give the judge that power. Your goal should be to prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt as best you can. Your job is to handcuff the judge's ability to use their discretion against you. Ideally, you build your defensive fortress so well that your case will be lock solid and the judge can't rule against you. Not all family court judges are biased or incompetent. I don't know your judge, and you probably don't know them well either. Don't start by accusing them of being biased. Unfortunately, this process requires playing politics. Next, prepare in advance for the illogical conclusions. Before you walk into court, always be ready to argue against every bad decision a judge can possibly make. Don't blindly walk into court expecting a fair outcome. For example, many judges think like simpletons when the dad works and the mom doesn't. They just assume the dad isn't available to parent and stick him with alternate weekend visitation. To counter this standard factory output mindset, come ready to prove your job won't interfere with parenting. If you work a 9-to-5 job, show you can parent not just every weekend, but also every weekday from 5:30 p.m. until bedtime. Maybe you just need a babysitter after school from 3:30 to 5:30 p.m. Show how a 50-50 schedule can work. In the same situation, many judges apply a gender-biased double standard. If a mom works and needs a babysitter, courts still give her primary custody. But if a dad works, he becomes an alternate weekend visitor who pays child support. Judges act like we don't see that pattern of bias. Remind the judge that plenty of women work and have primary custody, so a dad can do it too. Prepare arguments like this for all issues tied to the best interest factors. You have to over-prepare on every factor. Next, the Rubik's Cube. A common manipulation tactic I saw in family court was lawyers and judges only focusing on parts of the story that supported giving the mother primary custody. They ignored bad facts about the mom and good facts about the dad. If they looked at everything, they might have to give 50-50 custody or even primary custody to the father, and they didn't want that. So this is a tactic in their playbook to enable them to rubber stamp custody to the mother. We all know the Rubik's Cube. 6 sides with 6 colors: blue, red, yellow, green, white, and orange. The total truth is that it has 6 sides with 6 colors. We can't hide from that total truth. How do you defend against a lawyer that's trying to deceive the court? I'll give you a technique that works in many instances, no matter what the conversation is about. Using this Rubik's Cube example, imagine the mom's lawyer shows the judge just the red side and says, "See, the cube is red," hiding the other 5 sides. Or they show 2 sides, blue and red, and pretend that's all there is. They're hiding the rest of it to manipulate the outcome, to ensure that default custody goes to the mother. It's a common technique to frame the story to deceive the judge, who's often willing to be fooled. I'm sure you'll see this game constantly in family court, from the mom's lawyer, the judge, or the guardian ad litem, the child's attorney. Your job is to expose it every time. Show the white, yellow, orange, and green sides they're hiding. Show their analysis is wrong. Every time the mother's lawyer speaks, remember the Rubik's Cube. Assume they're hiding facts to push their narrative. Your job is to point out the full truth and explain the correct conclusion, because no one else will. For example, your standard response can be, obviously, the mother's lawyer is trying to deceive the court. She's hiding important facts like A, B, and C. If we look at the whole story, the correct conclusion is X, Y, Z. When you expose the lawyer this way, it'll embarrass them in court. The lawyer might get angry and throw a tantrum, but you will ignore that, and you will stand your ground. Don't let them bully you. If you do this a couple of times, that lawyer will think twice about trying to deceive the court again with you in the room. To build your defensive fortress, memorize all the facts of your case so you can instantly bring them up to show the total story about any incident. Before we continue, I want to announce my new ebooks available on a site called Lemon Squeezy. These playbooks are roadmaps to help you navigate family court. Many dads who watch my content ask me to create PDF files with my text, charts, and the questions I created to help you prepare for trial. So I've done that. Lemon Squeezy is an online platform where I can easily upload my ebooks. Get that one episode you need, or get all the episodes. I even created a workbook to help you prepare your testimony. Check it out at fatherx.lemonsqueezy.com. The next topic. Build your defensive fortress so the mother's lawyer can't attack you effectively during cross-examination. For example, with your parenting schedule, pick up your kid 100% of the time, on time, every time. Never sacrifice time with your kid. If you show up late or cancel a weekend, assume the mother and her lawyer will use it in court to show you're unwilling or unable to be a responsible parent. Why would a judge give you primary or even 50-50 custody if you're unreliable? In my case, out of 200 pickup and drop-offs over 2 years, I never canceled any parenting time and was late by just 5 or 10 minutes on maybe 2 or 3 occasions. And I texted her if I was running late, so there was a record of it. And she was late sometimes too. When her lawyer cross-examined me, he asked me if I'd ever been late to pickups. Notice that he didn't ask if she was ever late, just me. Be aware the mother's lawyer has 2 clear goals with this question. First, he's hoping you lie about the 2 or 3 times you were late by 5 minutes, because he knows they can prove you lied. Second, he's trying to paint you as an irresponsible parent because you're late for pickup and drop-off. Lawyers tell you to just answer yes or no, but that's completely wrong because you swore to tell the whole truth, not part of it. Always add useful context to your answer. So when he asked me this, I answered that out of about 200 pickup and drop-offs, I was late 5 or 10 minutes, only 2 or 3 times, just like the mother. Do you see what I did there? If I only said, yes, I have been late, then he could blow that out of proportion and conclude to the judge that I wasn't a responsible parent. But by adding context on the record that it's 2 out of 200 times, it shows I was late only 1% of the time, which is meaningless. I also said the mother was late a couple of times too. So if I'm a bad parent for being late 3 times, then so is the mother. Her lawyer didn't want me talking about the mother's faults, but I didn't care what he wanted. That's how you add context to destroy their strategy. Also, if I lied and said I was always on time, they could have easily exposed it, making me look like a liar, which would have been worse. You shouldn't lie, but definitely don't lie when telling the truth costs you nothing. Of course, life happens. Sometimes either parent will be late for a pickup or cancel a pickup. When it happens, alert the other parent that you're stuck. That's the responsible thing to do. If it's a one-off scenario, it's fine and you both have to react constructively. But always act like a reasonable person because you'll be cross-examined on it later. That's how you build your defensive fortress. If you don't act reasonably, then expect to get hammered in court. The next topic is responding to petitions and motions. Protect yourself from bad outcomes. A common tactic your opposing lawyer might use is constantly filing petitions and motions to keep you on the defensive. Having to respond to these motions will be frustrating for you. I know, I lived it. When you're getting beaten down in court, and then there's another motion or petition you have to reply to, it's frustrating, and you want to shut down because it's all too much. But ignoring it makes things worse. Assume the court will side with the mom if you ignore the issue or come unprepared. Also, not every motion is gamesmanship. Sometimes you need to address real legal issues. I recommend 2 things. First, reply to all petitions and motions by the correct deadline. If you miss a deadline, then assume the court will rule against you, and you'll be in a deeper hole. Second, these motions are designed to irritate you. Control your emotions. Read the petition 2 or 3 times, calmly. Try to understand what the other side is claiming the facts are, what their conclusions are, and what outcome they want. Put yourself in their shoes. When you reply, expose all their false statements. Add the critical, truthful statements that they conveniently excluded, and state the correct conclusion. Remember the Rubik's Cube. They'll show one side and hide the rest. Your job is to reveal the full truth. In every response, your goal is to sound like the most reasonable person in the room. Discuss what's actually best for your kid versus what's best for the mom. Write like you are the judge deciding this matter. Do the judge's job for them. The next topic is, don't send bad emails and texts during this court process. Assume every email and text you send could end up in front of your judge. Every message must show you're reasonable and not the angry or abusive person they want you to be. Avoid those long ranting emails where you dump out all your frustrations. Most judges won't understand that your anger is caused by their bad decisions. They'll just see you as unstable. Write a draft of your email. Wait, and then edit to make sure you're being reasonable about the issue at hand. For example, many times I wrote brief emails to my son's mom asking if he could stay with me 4 nights instead of 2 nights this weekend or the next, and she would say no. And then in court, I stacked up the 27 examples to show the pattern that whenever I asked for more parenting time, she would always deny it. Therefore, she's not a good co-parent who fosters a relationship between the child and the other parent. It was evidence that she shouldn't have primary custody. But I wasn't perfect. I also sent some long ranting emails, which I'm warning you not to do. These are dangerous if you do them the wrong way. The way I did it worked for me. Why? Sometimes, when I asked for 4 nights instead of my standard 2-night weekend, the mother would say no. And I would reply with a long email saying she wasn't being reasonable, that the only reason she has primary custody is because she lied to the police to have me falsely arrested, and she's defrauding the judge into thinking she's the victim of domestic violence. And I'd remind her that she was the violent one who repeatedly pulled knives during her fits of rage in our home. So the least she could do is be reasonable and let me be with our son for 4 nights. Think about my strategy there. I was obviously mad at the mother for lying, and I was calling her out on it. But do you think any lawyer would present this email to a judge to show I was abusive or harassing? Would any lawyer want these emails, where I'm exposing her lies and violence, to be shown to the judge? No. It would only alert the judge that the mother is lying. And the mother's lawyer wanted to actively hide from that. My emails were pure poison for her custody case. I sent emails that I knew the mother would never give to the court, and it would help me if she did. Still, it's usually better to make your arguments on the witness stand and not in emails that might be seen as abusive. Next, your defensive fortress in the courtroom. After this episode, review my episodes 4A and 4B, where I teach you how to be nice in court, strategically. If a judge starts off biased against you, then your job is to convert them. I explain this deeper in episodes 4A and 4B. But in short, as you build your defensive fortress to block the judge from hating you more, we discussed that you should be assertive but not aggressive. Never miss court dates. Never be late for court. Dress appropriately. Work the room. And much more. These strategies are critical parts of your defensive fortress. You don't want to lose because of dumb mistakes. Next, behavior the court expects from you. Some courtrooms give parents kindergarten-level instructions about how to behave in court, like, don't yell in court, respect the judge, don't speak unless you're spoken to, and only answer the judge's questions. But I noticed these rules are just a way to force you to sit quietly, play their game, and help them hand default custody to the mother. Yes, you must be polite. But if the judge asks the wrong question, correct him and tell the whole story, not just the portion they want to hear. If someone lies in court during those brief 10-minute status conferences, voice your objections assertively to tell the whole truth. Be respectful, but don't let their childish instructions corner you into keeping quiet and losing your kids. In the next episode, we'll discuss building your defensive fortress against the police, child support, and child protective services. These might be the darkest days of your life. They were for me. I'm making these educational videos to help you navigate this nightmare. If you subscribe, you can get updates when I post more videos. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing with your friends who are in a similar situation. Please support this channel so I can make more videos. You can donate with a super chat, or you can donate via the links on my YouTube channel's About page using PayPal or Venmo.